Last night, my wife's boss from her brand new job invited us over for dinner. On the drive over, my wife reiterated many times to me just how important it was to make a good impression. I scoffed and arrogantly informed my silly wife that I always make good impressions. My wife's boss is a single lady in her 50s, so it was just the three of us. We chit-chatted over drinks and salads and seemed to really be hitting it off. She laughed at my well-timed, perfectly appropriate jokes, and my wife seemed pleased. Soon she brought out the main course, a nice big juicy steak for each of us. As I began to cut into my steak, I was discouraged to discover how undercooked it was. Now, I've had my fair share of rare steaks. I prefer medium, but I can handle rare. This, however, was several minutes on a hot grill short of rare. I probably could have resuscitated the cow had I tried. Instead, I sat there fidgeting with my knife and fork, worrying about how I was going to get away with not eating this steak. Claim veganism? No, I'd already feigned great enthusiasm upon seeing the steak. Just then, our hostess excused herself to the kitchen to take care of some dessert preparations. As I looked across the fancy dining room table at the open window of this third-story apartment, a cartoon light bulb appeared over my head. I knew I had to be decisive, realizing that she could return at any moment. I committed. I grabbed the steak with my hand, gently shook off the juice, and executed a perfect throw right through the center of the open window. Here's the big time F up. The window wasn't open. It was the cleanest damn window you've ever seen in your life. That is, until my mostly raw slab of steak slammed up against it and slowly slid down, leaving a trail of bloody juice in its wake. My wife, whose steak was a nice medium rare and was unaware of my predicament, turned, jaw dropped, and stared at me like I was an alien from another planet. This look then slowly morphed into more of a "there is no place on this planet you can ever hide from me" expression of demonic anger. My wife's boss heard the thud of the steak on window impact and came quickly. She took in the scene, the steak sitting on the windowsill, the blood trail, my empty plate, and then gave me an inquisitive, puzzled look. I just didn't know what to say. It felt like a minute of silence, but was probably only 3 or 4 seconds. Finally, the best I could manage was, I'm so sorry. I am such a klutz. I don't know. I was just cutting it and it slipped. Just ask my wife. I really am a klutz. Right, honey? No help coming from that direction. I will clean this up. I can't believe this. I am so sorry, etc., etc. Both women continued to stare at me like I had escaped from the loony bin as I smeared the blood around the window with my cloth napkin, dusted off the steak, and continued to mutter my incoherent explanation. I knew no one was buying the story. I knew what I had to do. I sheepishly returned to my seat and proceeded to eat every bite of that disgusting, cold, chewy, bloody, raw steak. I remained pretty quiet the rest of the evening. My wife's only words for the rest of that night were, "I'm fine." I get placed on a special detail at work. It's just me, 2 leads, Jen and Carlos, and Stephanie, the supervisor, working a shift until 2 a.m. Jen and I are great friends, and I get along decently with the other 2. So, we're all on break together, and the supervisor has this way of eating a bag of chips where she dumps them all out onto a paper towel. On this fateful evening, as soon as she dumps out her chips, she gets a call and has to step out. Carlos whips out a little plastic fly and says, "We should put this on her chips." Jen and I agree, but Jen has a better idea. She then proceeds to lift the topmost chip in the pile, and Carlos places the fly under it. Now, I am terrible at holding a straight face, and Jen, who is often my partner in crime for pranks like this at work, is well aware of my propensity to give a joke away. She points at me and says, "Don't ruin this." I raise my right hand and promise to do my best. Steph comes back and sits across the table from me with Jen at her side and Carlos next to me. We start playing phase 10, and then it starts. Steph reaches for a chip. I instantly purse my lips, trying to hold back a smile. Jen gives me the look of death as Steph bypasses the topmost chip. We all exhale. She reaches again and misses the topmost chip. We're all eagerly watching as she picks through the chip pile, missing the cleverly laid trap 1 chip at a time. Jen's eyes light up as Steph is about to grab the top chip. When she frees it from the pile, there is no fly. Somehow, it's moved deeper down into the pile. This goes on for what seems like an eternity, all of us dying on the inside, waiting for this fly to be revealed. I'm unable to look anybody in the eye. Sweat is beating up on my forehead, and I'm literally biting my lip. Jen is now fully aware of my situation and is also having a hard time because she's trying not to laugh at me, trying not to laugh. Steph keeps eating the chips one by one, but this fly somehow keeps digging deeper into the pile. Down and down it goes, like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole. The tension building, and nobody knows when it's going to happen. Then, like the snap of a mousetrap, Steph pulls a chip, sees the fly, and jumps out of her chair screaming. The pressure of holding in laughter comes exploding out of Jen, Carlos, and me. We're laughing at the fly. We're laughing at the fly moving down the pile. We're laughing at the supervisor. We're laughing at how hard it was to keep from blowing the secret, and then we laugh at how we can't stop laughing. Steph quickly gets over her shock, disappointment in us, embarrassment in her actions, and is now caught in the whirlpool of laughter. All four of us are busting guts in the break room, the loudest and heartiest laughs I've ever experienced. It must have gone on for 10 minutes, trying to speak in broken sentences, recalling the tension, the way Steph reacted, and how we can't stop laughing. We're gasping for air and holding our ribs. Our sides and mouths are starting to hurt, but we still can't stop, and it just makes it even more funny. To this day, when I think about this, it causes me to laugh. This is a story one of my high school teachers told me. When he was 19, he went to Austria to be a Mormon missionary for 2 years. He had been out there for about 1.5 years when he got paired up with a greenie to train, which is slang for brand new missionary. Greenies obviously don't have a full grasp of the language or local customs yet, so they rely heavily on their senior mission companions for guidance as they learn. This particular greenie was a nice guy, but he had a mild, know-it-all attitude. They were scheduled to have dinner with a member of the local Mormon congregation, an older lady whose husband had passed away a few years prior. She is absolutely delighted to have them over. Now, it's common knowledge that grandmas and old ladies in general love to feed people, and the more you eat their food, the happier they are. Well, according to my teacher, Austrians have a similar attitude towards food. They're very generous with it, and the more you eat, the more you show your respect and gratitude towards them. So, when my teacher and his greenie sat down for dinner with this older Austrian woman, they had 2 factors that wanted them to eat obscene amounts of food. My teacher, having been out 18 months, is wise to this and knows exactly how to avoid it. But he decides that he's going to let this know-it-all new guy learn this all on his own. In the United States, when people are done eating, they typically place their utensils on their plate to signify this. If they want more food, they'll keep their utensils on the table, next to their plates. Well, unbeknownst to this new guy, in Austria, it's basically the opposite. So this lady cooks the missionaries this very delicious, very filling chicken and rice dish. She loads up their plates, and they eat it all to her delight. After he's done eating, my teacher very inconspicuously puts his utensils on the side of his plate, signifying to her that he's done. Greenie, feeling very full and satisfied, places his utensils on his plate to show her that he's done, not knowing that in Austria, this means that he wants more food. Teacher tries not to smirk, knowing full well what's coming. The nice old lady, seeing that the new guy obviously wants more food, smiles in delight and jumps up to grab his plate. She gleefully fills it with another large serving of chicken and rice and places it in front of him. Teacher says the look on the greenie's face was a combination of pain, fear, and confusion. Not sure why he got more food, but also not wanting to be rude. He struggled, but slowly and painfully put down a second large helping of food. Then, unfortunately for him, once again placed his utensils on his plate. The look on the old woman's face was of pure delight and excitement. Teacher is biting his lip, looking the other way, trying not to laugh. She takes the plate and, to the greenie's horror, piles on a third large helping of food. Now the look on his face was one of pure terror. My teacher started to feel a little bad, but still found it hilarious. With tears nearly in his eyes, Greenie slowly goes to work on his third helping. This time, he only makes it about halfway through before stopping. Teacher said he looked a little green in the gills and was very quiet, not just because he was a novice at the language, but also because he was too full to speak. Teacher and the old lady are conversing away when suddenly the new guy makes a retching sound before unloading about 5 pounds worth of chewed-up chicken and rice all over the lady's table. He felt horrible, but the lady was very sweet about the whole thing. She felt bad for him and had him lay down on her couch to rest while she cleaned up the mess. Fortunately, once he got all the food out, he started to quickly feel better, but was obviously embarrassed. Even though he got a good laugh over it, my teacher felt bad, and revealed to his greenie the etiquette for refusing more food in Austrian culture. You can rest assured that that new guy never made that mistake again for the rest of the time he was in Austria.